What's up, guys? My name's Stu, and we've got some new C-Store ships to talk about, so let's get into it. Here we have the first new ship coming to the game, the Valdres Command Strikewing Escort, aka the long-begged-for Tier 6 Norway. That's right, you all can finally shut up about the Norway, because it's finally happening. We did get to see the stats of the ship. This is going to be, like I said, it's going to be a Command Strikewing Escort. It's going to have a 5.2 weapons layout with a experimental weapon. It's also going to have 4 tactical consoles, 3 science, and 3 engineering. I think the fleet version gets a 4th engineering console, if I'm remembering correctly. I almost like this bridge officer seating. I was actually pretty excited about it initially because at face value, it actually looked like a pretty decent torpedo build because it's a command ship, it's got a lot of tactical seating because it's an escort, but then I realized something. The universal seat and the secondary tactical seat, they're both only lieutenant level. You need at least 2 lieutenant commander spots for a torpedo build because you need concentrate firepower 3 and you need high yield 3. Which you've only got one of those here, so you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to sacrifice either on your high yield or your concentrate firepower, which is a bit annoying. Beyond that, though, it's actually not a bad ship. Torpedo builds aren't for everyone, so if you're wanting to do an energy weapon build on this, you could still easily do that. It's not going to do quite as well as, say, on something with Miracle Worker seating or something that would be full intel, but this will still do nicely, especially with that weapons layout. A 5.2 layout is definitely preferred on an energy weapon build because you get more dual beam banks or dual cannons in the front. Now, the lore that they've come up with for the Norway and this new Valdres class is that the ship is meant to be sort of a large cargo hauler, which that's what the gap in between the nacelles is supposed to be. There's supposed to be like a big cargo pod that's supposed to go in there, or it could fit a smaller ship inside the gap between the nacelles and haul it somewhere else. And the thinking there is that because it's hauling stuff all the time, is that it would have very powerful tractor beams. And this being Star Trek Online, of course, they've weaponized that into the console, which they have called Heavy Pulsed Tractor Array. What it does basically is on smaller targets, it will tractor beam a bunch of stuff around you and pull it in, and then it'll hold it there, dealing some kinetic damage because tractor beams. But then if you activate the console again, it'll forcibly jettison them, dealing even more kinetic damage to foes that are nearby each other. Basically, they're colliding into each other. Apparently in-house they were calling this Kirby mode because you suck them in and then you spit them out. But on targets that are a battleship or larger, those aren't designed to be pulled by a tractor beam, so you're just going to be dealing a small amount of kinetic damage to them with your tractor beams and impairing their movement without actually sucking them in, sort of like a normal tractor beam would. Honestly, the damage on the tooltip doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem like a lot of damage. So this could end up being just a gimmick console, though Bordicus did say on the live stream that these numbers did seem low, so they may be buffed at some point in the future. We're getting a look at these ships rather early, just because it's Fleet Week, so there's still some other some tweaks to be nailed down. So nothing here is final yet. I mean, you can see that that's evident right here because some of the art assets haven't even been implemented yet. That's how early we're getting to look at these. So hopefully that'll get buffed. We'll see. The console is called Constructive Destructive Field Interference. With this ability slotted, any tractor beam abilities, so that's tractor beam or tractor repulsors, those will allow you to siphon shields off an enemy, so they will drain shields and then recharge your own. Additionally, anytime you activate an energy drain bridge officer ability, like Tachyon Beam or something like that, it will also reduce your target's kinetic damage resistance, making them more vulnerable to torpedo attacks or any other kinetic damage. Interesting. Could be. I wouldn't say it's gonna be super useful. It could be a decent budget torpedo trait. Though I am kind of interested how this would interact with the legendary Daerodex's trait, REA. That's the acronym. I keep forgetting the full name of it, but that uses tractor beam, and when you use that tractor beam, then it shoots out 3 very powerful plasma torpedoes. So not only with this trait in conjunction with that, you would not only reduce their kinetic damage resistance, but you would also bombard them with plasma torpedoes, making them that much more vulnerable to said plasma torpedo attacks. Again, could be interesting, could be a nice combo if you have both those traits. Beyond that, I'm not gonna say this is gonna be anything terribly special, but could be a decent budget trait. Being an escort, this is also going to come with a new experimental weapon. Something they've been doing a lot with new escorts lately is, especially the C-Store escorts, is putting out new experimental weapons. This one they are calling Mjolnir. They're really playing up the Norway vibes with this one. This experimental weapon will deal a heavy AoE electrical damage attack. It selects a primary target, there's a big electrical attack, it'll deal electrical damage, and up to 3 foes that are within 2 kilometers of that target will also receive that same amount of electrical damage. This could be good for, clearing out mobs and such. I don't like that recharge time. 6 seconds is kind of a lot, and we've seen it on a lot of other experimental weapons. It's often their downfall. The main reason that the Soliton Wave Impeller is just the king among experimental weapons is because you can get its haste down so freaking fast. You can get that firing rate really quick because its haste is tied into your engine power. But to my knowledge, no other experimental weapons have the capability of reducing their recharge, so it makes them all fall behind. That said, the AoE damage that this weapon does could make up for that, because remember there's another AoE experimental weapon that was very popular for a long time. That was Voice of the Prophets off of the Bajoran Interceptor, which also had a 6-second recharge. And while that has been shown up a number of times by a number of other experimental weapons, that's still a good option to have. So at the very least, if you don't have Soliton Wave Impeller, this would be a nice option to have that's going to be unlocked on your whole account. This ship comes with one more thing that's really cool, the Valkryie fighter squadrons. These are new hangar pets that the ship's going to be coming with. They're also very torpedo heavy. You can see here that they will be equipped with High Yield 1 and Torpedo Spread 1, and that's just the rare versions. That's the ones they come with. That means the dilithium versions, that's the very rare versions. Those should have High Yield 2 and Spread 2, and then the elite versions from the fleet starbase, those should have the level 3 versions of those abilities. So, Squadron fighter pets that have High Yield 3 and Torpedo Spread 3, that's kind of crazy. That could be really interesting. Now, while they're going to be nice, they're definitely not something you're going to want to fly with a torpedo build, because they're just going to steal your concentrate firepower. There's a reason that torpedo builds with hangar bays on them only run fighters that don't have torpedoes on them, because you don't want your hangar pets stealing your the extra high yield you get from concentrate firepower, because the concentrate firepower that they'll get, the extra high yield they'll get from that, won't be nearly as powerful as the one you will get, because you have, actual upgraded gear, probably that's way more powerful than whatever little torpedo that a fighter has. So, but if you're running an energy weapon, at the very least, if you're not running concentrate firepower, these could be pretty nice, and I do love the look of these. It's if you're familiar with older Star Trek games, these will probably look familiar to you, because these are actually the fighters from the game Star Trek Invasion, which was an old Star Trek game that was released on I think it was the original PlayStation. A few weeks ago, Thomas Moroni said that he had asked Paramount if they were allowed to use other ships from older games, and apparently Paramount's response to him was that Cryptic could use those older assets as long as they rebuilt the assets themselves, which, obviously they would have to anyway. So, good deal for Cryptic. And this is apparently the first product of that news, the Valkryie fighters. These are going to be made into the sort of 2409 era fighter, because I mean, it makes no sense that the Federation would still be using the Peregrine fighter at this point, because I mean that thing was adapted from civilian technology by the Maquis and then adopted by Starfleet for the Dominion War because they were just desperate for ships. So it doesn't make much sense that they would still be using what was essentially a civilian courier ship with, you know, Starfleet level weaponry mounted on it. You would think they would actually want to eventually design an actual fighter, and I guess this is it. And I'm happy about that. I love the look of the Valkryie. That's such a cool looking ship, and or such a cool looking little fighter. And I'm glad that this is going to be like part of the Starfleet aesthetic now. And I very much look forward to slapping these on my Lexington build. The other ship that was announced last night is the Seneca Command Carrier, which is the Tier 6 version of the Hiawatha. The Hiawatha was the transport, or the medical transport ship that Jet Reno was found on in season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. And this is going to be the Seneca class, which is the 2409 version. And yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about it because I would like this video to stay monetized. So we are going to move on. Now, the Seneca is a full command carrier, so not only is it going to be a full command ship, but it is a standard science carrier, so it's only going to have a 3-3 weapons layout, and it's going to be very science-focused, both in the seating and consoles. The closest thing you could compare this to is the support carriers, if you remember those from a few years ago. Those only had lieutenant commander level command seats, whereas this, again, is going to be a full command ship. Which I do like about that. That's going to be that opens up some more interesting possibilities with this ship. Plus, it's also got that miracle worker seat, which at the lieutenant level. So, while it's probably not going to make a great science build, you could do some decent stuff with weapons on this. Like, which is funny because the whole thing is meant to be set up as like a support ship. But honestly, this could make a decent torpedo build. Like, here, you put your torpedoes in the front, mine launchers in the back, usual torpedo mine layer consoles, because, I mean, a lot of those are universals anyway. Then, I mean, the bridge officer layout, you got, here's your high yield 3, here's your concentrate firepower 3, you can put call emergency artillery there, though you're going to be missing out on the grav well, so you could ditch that in favor of the gravity well. I mean, up to you. Then in the miracle worker seat, you got room for mixed armament synergy, so that's more bonus damage because you're going to be mixing torps and mines. It's a bit heavy on the engineering seating, which is a little annoying, but I mean, that happens. Yeah, I mean, it's not an amazing ship, but I mean, it's honestly, I'm just thinking of the possibilities. It's going to be an amusing ship, at least for me. The console is called Non-Baryonic Buffer Field. This is another interesting one. This one I'm a little confused about. It seems like it's meant to be sort of a tanking console. The passives, they will increase your damage resistance against hazard effects and damage over time effects, and that's because what this console does is turns all incoming damage into radiation damage, which is a hazard effect. Especially it turns it into radiation damage over time. So it's going to be turning all damage into that, which is going to be increasing your resistance against. It's a very weird console. It's basically meant to sort of gradually dissipate the amount of damage you're receiving, kind of even it out over time instead of just, you know, taking it all at once. I don't know how I feel about this. It's interesting. It doesn't sound good. That's what I'll say about that. Yeah, I'm not overly impressed with it, but I mean, someone might find it amusing. The starship trait is called Supplementary Coordination Network. Every time you launch a hangar pet, this will reduce the cooldown by 5% of your commander bridge officer abilities and any of your captain abilities. That's the interesting part, your captain abilities, because there isn't much that reduces the cooldown of your captain's abilities. The only other thing I can think of off the top of my head that does reduce the cooldowns of your captain abilities is personal trait. What's it called? Intel Agent Attaché, which that's a personal trait, which is kind of, not only is it better because I mean I think it'll do so more efficiently than then this trait will work. But also, it's a personal trait, so you won't have to sacrifice a full starship trait slot for it. So, yeah, not a great starship trait when a personal trait actually performs better. This ship will also come with its own unique hangar pets as well, support runabouts. Again, not overly impressed with these either. They are, well, and I don't like runabout pets. You know, there are a number of them. You know, there's the Danube and Yellowstone runabouts. They have the tractor beam, and what do the Yellowstones have? They have that special plasma ejection ability. I forget what it's called, but yeah, they're not very powerful. The problem is their abilities aren't very powerful. They don't have very powerful weapons, and their cooldowns are very long, and you can only get 4 of them per hangar. So yeah, fighters are just better, or frigates, if you can have full frigates. Because frigates actually have a decent array of abilities and weapons, because, you know, they're big. They have a lot of room for it. Whereas these runabouts, you know, the Danubes, the Yellowstones, the Delta Flyers, they're in a similar state of they feel like just bulky fighters, but you get less of them, and they're not as powerful, and their cooldowns are longer. They need a buff. That's the thing of it. I would love to see those get buffed, but it's probably not going to happen. Anyway, these ones, they have a 360-degree phaser beam array, forward and aft micro quantum torpedoes, I should say, and a nanite payload torpedo, which it's a heal. It can fire at yourself or allied targets, and it will heal them. It didn't really get much information on how much it will heal them. Thomas Maroney's head was kind of in the way, and Kale didn't move it. And even then, this is only the level 1 ability, and like I said earlier, we're getting a look at these pretty early, so that information could change. So who knows how effective these will be. But the thinking behind these is that they will be support pets. They will run around and they will deal some damage, but they will also try to heal you the best they can. Yeah, I'm a lot more excited for the Valkyries than this. Now, the other bit of news that we got to see is that there are going to be 2 ships that are getting remasters. And those ships are going to be part of the Constitution class skeleton, the old school Constitution class. So that's the 2 ships specifically are going to be the Excalibur class and the Vesper class. These 2 have been in the game since launch. They were part of the Tier 2 Constitution class. They were the alternate skins for that, which, I mean, is why they are getting revamped, because those are ships that you see very early, and you know, currently they are very much showing their age because they haven't been touched since the game launched. And similar to what they did with the Shikar class, they are just updating them and kind of placing these ships into certain eras within Star Trek's past. You can see here with the Excalibur, it's very reminiscent of the Sovereign class. So it's meant to be sort of a Constitution class from the 2370s to 2380s. It actually uses the Sovereign refit skin. Currently, that skin is locked if you don't own the legendary Sovereign, which is only available in the 10th anniversary bundle. Because they are incorporating it into this ship, they are going to be unlocking that hull material. So if you have any ships that can use the Sovereign refit skin, but if you don't have the legendary the Sovereign, the 12th anniversary bundle, you don't need to. This will be unlocked when the ship launches. So yay, free hull material. You know, assuming you don't have the 10th anniversary bundle. The Excalibur's big claim to fame was that it was the ship prominently featured here on the original box art for Star Trek Online, which yeah, that's I know that's why a number of people have been asking for this to get a revamp, and so I'm really pleased that it's finally getting one. And honestly, placing it in like the Sovereign era design aesthetic, that's, you know, kind of the perfect place to put it in, because it always had these Sovereign type nacelles, which looked really cool on this Constitution type body, and I'm really nice to see this be updated into a more modern design style that looks really nice. I love it. This is great. The other one is the Vesper class. It is also in the Tier 2 Constitution family. This one was always meant to be sort of like a slightly inspired by the Excelsior class, because remember that the Excelsior class wasn't in the game at launch, so this was kind of like the compromise. You know, we don't have the Excelsior, but here's a Constitution that kind of looks like an Excelsior. That was kind of the thing back in the launch era Star Trek Online. That was kind of the thinking with this Vesper class. They didn't have the Excelsior, so it was a Constitution that kind of looked like an Excelsior. But with this revamp, they've kind of gone similar with that thinking. This was meant to be, it's sort of like a later successor to the Excelsior, or something that was using Excelsior style technology later in the sort of mid 24th century. I think Thomas said around like 2340s ish. It actually uses the hull material from the Narendra class, or as anyone not familiar with Star Trek Online probably better knows it as Andrew Roberts Enterprise C. So it's meant to be like a very pre TNG era ship, sort of Lost era ship. Honestly, I'm not as big a fan of it as I am the Excalibur, but that's mostly just mostly because of the general shape of the ship. I always thought it was kind of I don't like the weird neck that's like stretched out too far forward, and the nacelle pylons that are curved at a weird angle. They're both like going forward and out at the same time. Honestly, if they had kind of pulled the neck back a little bit and shortened it a bit, and kind of did this, the same with these nacelles, kind of pulled them down a little bit, I would probably like it a bit better, because then it would kind of emulate the Excelsior's profile a bit more. But I don't know, I don't think Thomas wanted to make any too major changes to the skeleton, not like they did with the Shikar, because the Shikar got a massive overhaul, whereas this, Thomas specifically said in the live stream that these had a good structure to them that didn't need that much messing around with. It was just a matter of bringing him up to current standards, which I feel like this definitely pulls off. So yeah, it's good to see. I look forward to seeing more of this. The one downside to this is that there is a third Constitution class that has not gotten revamped. That would be the the Exeter class. Sadly, that's not being updated, at least not anytime soon, as far as we know. The reason that one was left out was because the Exeter is a dilithium ship, formerly a C-store ship. So yeah, that one's being left out. Though honestly, I do have a theory about that though, because the Exeter class uses the Tier 6 hull, which is that was kind of like the STO standard at the time, back when Tier 5 was the maximum, and the Type 6 hull, it's old at this point. It's really showing its age, but it did recently get a revamp on the Odyssey. And we know the Odyssey isn't coming to the game yet. They're going to be waiting until it shows up in Picard. Season 3 doesn't start till I think February 16th. So mid-February at the earliest. They might even wait till the whole season is over before they give us that. But yeah, so if they're gonna revamp the Exeter, it's probably gonna use that revamped Odyssey hull. So they probably don't want to get that skin released into the game before the Odyssey revamp is actually in it. So I'm hoping maybe once the Odyssey revamp makes it into the game, we might see that Exeter revamp, sometime after it. The rest of that live stream was dedicated to going over a lot of the details around the revamped Odyssey class, which you can see along here. This is actually just my desktop. I made this. Thomas released this render onto Twitter, and I made it the wallpaper for one of my screens, and I love it so much. It's so pretty. You can see some of the new details here, so just small little things that made like these little details along like this forward rim. These little circle things, no idea what they are, but they just look kind of neat. The windows are totally different. These are actually the Sovereign windows. So it's got the more straight lined windows with the little triangular escape pods, which I feel like really go well with this aesthetic here. It's really nice looking. You can also see the nacelles have been reshaped a bit to have this little fin in the back that kind of jets upward. I really like that too. It adds a bit more definition to the nacelles that I like. I know Thomas said the Bussar collectors had been reshaped a bit. One notable thing here is he added a shuttle bay up here in the front in between the neck, which I thought that was kind of a neat idea, just to give a little more purpose to the double neck feature. Another thing he did was, you can barely see it here, is he added like some ribbing inside of the double necks. It's kind of similar to the neck on the Excelsior class, just to give it the look of, like, you know, there's something going on there that gives it reason to have the double neck. You know, it's there for a specific, you know, so it's there for a specific purpose, not just there for the sake of being there. Which I thought that was a really clever detail on Thomas's part. Yeah, I'm not going to go into much more detail than that on this. I'll link the live stream or the VOD for the live stream down below, so you can see that full thing, just, you know, as it is, because Thomas is going to be able to talk about the Odyssey revamp far better than I can. So just, you know, go watch him do it. So anyway, that has been the news we got for this week. There's a lot to unpack. I'm excited for the new ships. Again, they're not perfect, but they're neat. They look fun, and yeah, I'm gonna buy them, and I'm gonna do stuff with them. Maybe I'll make videos for them. We'll see how you guys feel about them, and we'll go from there. Anyway, my name's Stu. Thank you so much for watching. My members will be showing up on a list eventually. Thank you so much to them. You guys really do help make some of this stuff easier. Anyway, if you're excited about these new ships or these new remasters, or if you just want to gush more about the Odyssey like I always do, feel free to leave a comment down below. While you're down there, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel and become one of those members that you know, show up on the list, hit that join button, or you can also hit the super thanks button, or you can find the link to the merch store in the description. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and this has probably been the most awkward outro I have ever filmed. All right, later, guys.